The largest crowd of the campaign showed up in Detroit, Michigan. But Arizona just couldn't leave it alone, could you?
I ask, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom?
Joining me now, Danielle Moody, host of the Woke AF podcast, and Brian Tyler Cohen, an MSNBC contributor and the author of the new book, Shameless: Republicans' Deliberate Dysfunction and the Battle to Preserve Democracy. My thanks to both of you for being with me today. Danielle, I want to go to you first. Kamala Harris kicking off her battleground blitz with Tim Walz just 4 days ago. The energy and the enthusiasm, palpable and inescapable. What do you make of the tens of thousands of people that are standing in lines for hours to come out to support them at those rallies?
I mean, Katie, I'll be honest, I haven't seen this kind of energy since 2008. It is inspiring. It is exciting. It is exhilarating. Democrats are in array in the most beautiful fashion that I think that we have seen. And it shows that Americans are ready for change. They are energized for change. They do not want the joyless, humorless, sad, and depressing Republican Party's vision of America. They want freedom. They want to be inspired. And this campaign, these two candidates are absolutely the ticket that we needed in this moment.
Brian, I want to play some more sound from that Phoenix rally last night. This is Kamala Harris responding to a group of pro-Palestinian protesters. Take a quick listen.
So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done. So I respect your voices, but we are here to now talk about this race in 2024.
Brian, this is obviously an important, critical issue. It dogged President Biden back when he was still running for re-election. I wanted to get your thoughts. How do you think Kamala Harris handled the situation last night? I mean, there was another situation that happened just a few days ago at another rally.
Yeah, I think she handled it. I mean, clearly she handled it knowing full well that this is a very precarious situation. And to your exact point, it did dog President Biden. And we do have the benefit now of being able to remove an albatross that has been hanging around Democrats' necks. And she's taking it seriously. And she's actually communicating with the group. She just spoke with the leaders of the uncommitted group and seems to be very open to taking this seriously. And she's advocated for a ceasefire as well. So I think that bodes well, especially in a state like Michigan, for example, where that is a large contingent of the voting population. So overall, she seems to be navigating a really tough issue with a lot of professionalism and ease at this point.
You know, Danielle, the New York Times has some new reporting about just how well Kamala Harris's surge is getting under Donald Trump's skin. Quote, close Trump allies have described this as the rockiest period of Mr. Trump's campaign and easily the worst since a late 2022 spree in which he mused about terminating parts of the Constitution and dined at Mar-a-Lago with a white supremacist and an outspoken Semite. I mean, Danielle, you and I have talked about this a lot. The New York Times has actually added as well. Trump has ranted about Ms. Harris calling her nasty on Fox and Friends and a bitch repeatedly in private, according to two people who heard the remark on different occasions. Should the Harris-Walz campaign keep its foot on the gas pedal, or should they amp it up?
I mean, they need to amp it up, right, and put their foot on the gas pedal. They need to continue doing everything that they've been doing all the way through the tape on November 5th. Look, I don't pay attention to polls. I'm glad that the polls are showing that Harris and Walz are doing well. But the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump and the Republican Party are really creepy, weird, and they are not above stealing elections. They're not above lying. They're not above cheating. And so I think that it's really important that this campaign not get distracted with whatever it is that is happening on the other side, right? I think that the energy that they have, the focus that they have right now is on the people, not on the media saying, oh, well, why isn't she doing press conferences? Why isn't she doing this, that, and the other thing? This campaign is doing everything that the people want, and that is why you're seeing the numbers that we are seeing. And I think that Donald Trump is scared. And what is worrying to me is that the more fearful Donald Trump becomes, the more dangerous Donald Trump becomes. And that's what we need to pay attention to and call out.
Brian, one of the issues that understandably always gets the biggest reaction is reproductive rights. Here's Donald Trump trying, I'm going to say trying, to talk about it. Take a listen.
So related to this is the whole issue of contraceptives. Do you support any restrictions on a person's right to contraception?
Well, we're looking at that, and I'm going to have a policy on that very shortly. And I think it's something that you'll find interesting. And it's another issue that's very interesting. But you will find it, I think, very smart. I think it's a smart decision. But we'll be releasing it very soon.
So, again, Trump has no policies as usual, has no plan as usual, but at a press conference at Mar-a-Lago a couple days ago, he also gave some incomprehensible word salad answer to a very direct question about restricting access to mifepristone. But in that clip right now, Brian, he makes it clear he's got a, quote, plan for it. We've seen Trump publicly decompensating, meandering, rambling, nonsensical speeches, but we can't fool ourselves, right, Brian? Trump is still rabidly anti-democracy.
Well, Katie, I want to be fair. He's looking at it very strongly, and we'll have a plan in 2 weeks. So there you go. No, he clearly, first of all, he doesn't know what mifepristone is, and that's why he started dissembling about in the aftermath of that question. But let's be clear: this guy will ban abortion nationwide if he has the opportunity. To this day, he brags about the fact that he appointed a third of the Supreme Court that went on to overturn Roe. So of course, this guy is proud of this, and there's nothing that will stop him from banning abortion nationwide if and when he has the opportunity. So we are deluding ourselves if we think that, for example, just because he tries to qualify his answers depending on who he's talking to, that he won't be as extreme as possible. If he can look at what happened in 2022 and 2023 in states like Ohio and Virginia, Kentucky, Kansas, and even Alabama, and still brag about the fact that he appointed a third of the Supreme Court that would overturn Roe, if he would do that now in the lead up to an election, after this has been such a toxic issue for Republicans, then imagine what he would do if he was unrestrained by another election and had carte blanche to impose whatever abortion restrictions were in front of him.
Danielle, I got less than a minute, but I did have to ask. We've seen people like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes openly say that they are not going to be supporting Donald Trump. They've backpedaled, right? And, they've tried to, make excuses for taking those positions. But we've also seen publicly attacks on Truth Social against the campaign leaders for Trump. Is this a sign in any way that you think that there is now an actual kind of break in the armor of the Trump campaign?
No, these are PR moves, and this is why I say that people cannot become complacent. Everything that this campaign does is about PR. And so we have to be very clear that they have orchestrated a 900-page plan. They know exactly what it is that they want to do to America, and we, the people, cannot let it happen.